Okay, some of you have been complaining that the SmartBook feature within McGraw-Hill Connect, when you get to the questions, it just keeps asking the same questions over and over and over again ad infinitum. The problem with this is that the way that McGraw-Hill SmartBook works, it's based on artificial intelligence, AI. So what it's actually doing, for example, if it feels that you just guessed at a question or or got it wrong, it's going to continue asking you the same question because what it wants you to do is to for you to understand the concept behind the question. It can tell if you're just guessing and so forth, and so it'll continue and continue asking you the same sets of questions. In any case, the way for you to avoid that and getting stuck in some sort of endless cycle, after you do the initial reading, the highlighted yellow parts, and then when you go to do the questions, be very careful how you do them. Let me show you. So you go to continue questions, right? And forget that whether this is your course, whether you're an AMH 2010, which is what this is, or an AMH 2020. What matters here is understanding the concept behind answering the questions, not the actual question itself, right? So, for example, here you have a multiple choice question. Make sure you pay attention to whether it's a multiple choice question or what's called a multiple select question. In a multiple select question, there can be more than one answer. There usually is more than one answer applicable. Multiple choice, there's only ever one answer. So, in any case, what was a major trading center in the Mississippi River Valley near modern day St. Louis from the 7th to the 13th centuries? That's the question. Well, hopefully you know this when you did the readings. But if you're not absolutely sure, or let's say if you're not 90% sure of the answer, guessing is only going to create more and more questions for you. So don't do that, right? If you don't have and that's what this is for, high degree of confidence, medium degree of confidence, or low degree of confidence. You need to be honest about this. Otherwise, it's going to get stuck in a loop. So, I know the answer to this, obviously. Okay, but let's before I even answer it, let me do this. Right? You see down here it says read about the concept. Right? I'm not sure what the answer is, so let me go read about the concept. You click on that. Right? And it's going to tell you here, right? The peoples of North Mexico developed less elaborate but still substantial civilizations. Inhabitants of the northern regions of the continent subsisted on a combination of hunting, gathering, fishing. This included the Inuit in the Arctic Circle who fished and hunted seals, blah, 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 blah. There it goes on. Other societies in North America were primarily agricultural. Among the most developed were those in the Southwest. Between 900 and 1150 AD, the ancient Pueblo people developed a thriving center of culture and commerce in Chaco Canyon in modern day northwestern New Mexico. Now, it's also going to go up here. Did I miss it somehow? No, I didn't miss it. It's still down there. Okay. Um, there it is. Okay. So in any case, it's down here. It says the eastern third of what is now the United States, much of it covered with forests and inhabited by woodland Indians, had the greatest food resources of any area of the continent. And then down here, it says most of the many peoples of this region engage in farming, hunting, gathering, and fishing simultaneously. In the south, there were permanent settlements and large trading networks based on the corn, legumes, and squash grown in the rich lands of the Mississippi River Valley. Cahokia, a trading center located near present-day St. Louis, had a population of 40,000 people at its peak in AD 1200. Okay, so now let's go back to the question. Okay, what was a major trading center in the Mississippi River Valley near modern-day St. Louis from the 7th to the 13th century? Well, we just read that. Cahokia. Okay, now I'm going to hit it with, now I have a high degree of confidence in the answer, right? And of course, the answer is Cahokia. Now, if you look up here, these little bars up here, as you answer questions correctly, the goal is to master a particular concept. The goal is not to memorize the answer to a question. It is not to guess. The goal is to understand the concept itself, right? That's why it's going to ask you the same question but in different ways, right? It's going to ask you sort of questions that have the same answer, but it's going to ask it in different ways in order to see if you understand the concept and are not just repeating the answer to a question. All right, next one. Next question. What were among the direct or indirect results of the European population growth during the 1400s? Now, notice that this one is a multiple select question, right? Select all that apply. And it wants to know what were the direct or indirect results of European population growth during the 1400s? Well, you're not sure. So let's go over here. Okay, it says, two important social changes encouraged Europeans to look towards new lands. The first was a significant growth in Europe's population in the 15th century. There we go. The Black Death, a catastrophic epidemic of the bubonic plague that began in Constantinople in 1347, had killed more than a third of the people of the continent, according to some estimates. But a century and a half later, the population had rebounded. With that growth came a reawakening of commerce. That's one thing. A new merchant class was emerging to meet the rising demand for goods from abroad. As trade increased, right, and as advances in navigation, so you got commerce, trade, advances in navigation made long-distance sea travels more feasible. Interest in expanding trade grew even more quickly. The second change of the emergence of new governments was the emergence of new governments that were more united and powerful than the feeble political entities of the feudal past. In the western areas of Europe in particular, strong new monarchs were eager to enhance the commercial development of their nations. Okay, so let's go. Back to the question. What were among the direct or indirect results of the European population growth during the 1400s? Okay, well, we saw the rise of a new merchant class, an increased interest in trade, okay? And pretty much that's all that I saw. So let's say that you have a pretty good feeling about your answer. And there we go, correct and correct. Notice that now another little bar went up there. If you follow this system of, unless you're at least, I want to say at least 80% or better sure of the answer, click here and read it again. Click there and read it again, and then go back and answer it. If you do that, you're going to get far fewer questions thrown at you. Okay? So that's how you do that.